So today I am going to talk about features of C++. Here are some features of C++ language. First one is it is an object-oriented programming language. In short form, we can also say that OOPS, OOPS. So we require to know the features of object-oriented programming language, and this feature also come under the benefits of C++ language. So the four features are class, object, data abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism, binding, and message passing. Let's talk about object first. Objects are the real entity, or we can say that objects are runtime entity. Means object can be anything that is in real. Like my laptop is an object, pen is also an object, books, car, anything that we can touch or feel can be treated as objects. And one more thing that we should know about objects, that is that when a class is defined, no memory is going to allocate. But when an object is created, then memory will be allocated. Okay, so now these objects are a part of class. Here class is not that where we used to study in schools or colleges. Class is a feature of OOPS, that is object oriented programming. And about class we will talk next. Like we can see in this figure, that here in each object we are able to access data and functions that are defined in class, that we will define in class. Now we can create objects by, this is syntax as you can see here. First we have to write the class name and then any name that we want to take as an object, that should be followed by a terminator symbol. Now next feature is class. Now class is defined by user. मतलब data, functions, everything that is used in class is defined by user. That's why class is a user defined data type. In class we have two things to define. First one is data member, second one is member functions. And these data members and member functions are accessed by objects. And data members are data variables, and member functions are what? Member functions are functions that is used to manipulate these variables. Okay, and together these data members and member functions define the property and behavior of the objects in a class. Okay, and let's have a look on this example. Here I have created a class of student where I want to store information of student, information like name, roll number, marks, and his or her age. So these four things like name, roll number, marks, and age are common information for all students, because I want this information of every single student. That's why we declare them as a variable. And these data are data members. Okay, and now each student have different roll number, age, name, and marks. Can be similar and can be different also. Okay, it's not necessary that all data of all age of students are similar. Now it's not static, so we have to use member functions to access them. Like display function is used to print the information of students. Okay, and if I want to print average marks of all the students, then I can use average function, avg, and function. This bracket is known as functions in language. If any data is misprinted, then to update that we can use update function. Want to print percentage of students, then we can use percentage function. So these are the member functions. Now what is data abstraction? This is the next feature and it's very important. Data abstraction means to hide the sensitive data and show the only data that we want to display other. It follows the concept of data hiding, where we hide background detail that is not important. Okay, let's take one real life example of a TV, like which you can turn on and off, change the channel, adjust the volume, and add external components such as speakers, DVD players, but you do not know its external details. That is, you do not know how it is receives signals over the air or through the cable. Okay, how it translates them and finally display them on the screen. Okay, so thus we can say that a television clearly separates its internal implementations from its external interface, and you can play with its interface like the power button, channel change, volume control, and without having any knowledge of its internal environment. Okay, so same as data abstraction. Data abstractions also follow the same concept. We just need to write the variable that we want as output. Okay, compiler will compile it, and after execution we get our output. We did not know what actually has been done in the background. Okay, for example, I have taken this simple example, like I have created a class एंड क्लास नेम इज स्टूडेंट. अब मुझे क्या करना है कि मुझे सिर्फ स्टूडेंट्स की नेम और डेट ऑफ बर्थ चाहिए. अब हमें तो आउटपुट मिल जाएगा, ठीक है, हमें उसका नाम मिल जाएगा, उसकी डेट ऑफ बर्थ मिल जाएगी. अब कंपाइलर कैसे एग्जीक्यूट करके दे रहा है हमें वो सब नहीं पता है. तो इसका मतलब यही होता है कि जो चीज़ इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं होती हमारे लिए तो सिर्फ आउटपुट इंपॉर्टेंट है. तो हमें सिर्फ आउटपुट से मतलब है, हमें बैकग्राउंड की डिटेल जानने की ज़रूरत ही नहीं है, कैसे कौन सा फंक्शन यूज़ लिया, कहाँ पे कौन सी चीज़ एक्सेस हुई, मतलब किससे कौन सा लिंक है, ठीक है. तो ये सारी चीज़ें बैकग्राउंड में आती हैं. नाउ इफ़ वी टॉक अबाउट इनकैप्सुलेशन, as we are getting some idea by the word encapsulation means wrapping data, and data encapsulation means wrapping up of data. It will not get affected by external environment. Let's try to understand with the real life example of encapsulation. Like in a company there are different sections like the account section, finance section, sales section, and the finance section handles all the financial transaction and keep record of all the data related to finance. Okay, similarly the sales section handle all the sales related activities and keep records of all the sales. Now there may arise a situation when for some reason an official from finance section needs all the data about sales in a particular month. So in this case he is not allowed to direct access the data of sales section. Okay, so he will first have to contact some other officers in the sales section, and then he can make request him to give the particular data. So this is encapsulation. This is what encapsulation is. Okay, here the data of sales section and the employees that can manipulate them are wrapped in under a single name, that is sales section. As using encapsulation, we can also hide the data. Like in this example, the data of any of the section like sales, finance or accounts is hidden from any other sections. Okay, and in C++, encapsulation can be implemented using class and access modifiers. Access modifiers are like public, private and protected. Public is means all the class members declared under the public specifier will be available to everyone. The data members and the member functions declared as public can be accessed by other classes and functions too. Okay, so this is the public. And the private access modifiers, it can be accessed only by the member inside the class. They are not allowed to be accessed directly by any object or functions outside the class. Okay, and protected one is like protected access modifier is similar to private access modifiers in the sense that it can't be accessed outside of its class unless with the help of friend class. Friend class means derived class or like parent class. So the difference is that the class member declared as protected can be accessed by any subclass or derived class of that class as well. I will make a separate video on inheritance topic, you will get it clear. Now there is another feature of C++ that is very important in C++ language. Why important? Because using this feature lots of problem like repetition of codes is solved. Okay, so reusability of codes is a benefit when we use inheritance. What is inheritance? Inheritance means the capability of a class to derive properties and characteristics from another class is called inheritance. Inheritance means to create a new class with the help of a class that is already created. Like जो क्लास पहले से ही क्रिएट की होती है उसे कहते हैं हम बेस क्लास या फिर पेरेंट क्लास. उसकी हेल्प से जब हम नई क्लास को बनाते हैं या फिर बोल सकते हैं उसकी फीचर्स को जब अडॉप्ट करके हम नई क्लास को बनाते हैं तो हम उसे न्यूली क्रिएटेड क्लास को हम बोलेंगे डिराइव्ड क्लास या फिर चाइल्ड क्लास. मतलब कि जो क्लास पहले से ही हमने क्रिएट की है, जैसे कि स्टूडेंट, ठीक है, स्टूडेंट क्लास क्रिएट की थी ना हमने, उसमें हमने पहले दिया था रोल नंबर, नेम, एज एंड मार्क्स. लेकिन अब मुझे एक क्लास चाहिए जिसमें स्टूडेंट्स के फ़ोन नंबर एंड एड्रेस भी हो साथ में, और साथ साथ में उनके जो प्रीवियस इन्फॉर्मेशन थी लाइक उनके रोल नंबर तो होने चाहिए, नेम, एज एंड मार्क्स भी होने चाहिए, साथ साथ में उनके फ़ोन नंबर एंड एड्रेस भी होना चाहिए. अब ये चारों इन्फॉर्मेशन तो पहले वाली स्टूडेंट क्लास में भी थे, तो हम उस क्लास को यूज़ कर सकते हैं, ठीक है, उस क्लास को आसानी से एक्सेस कर सकते हैं। बाकी ये काफ़ी बड़ा टॉपिक है, इसके बारे में मतलब बहुत कुछ पढ़ना है। जैसे इसके 3 तरह से एक्सेस कर सकते हैं हम लोग, पब्लिक, प्राइवेट एंड प्रोटेक्टेड, तो इसको हम अलग से पढ़ेंगे, ठीक है। द नेक्स्ट फीचर इज पॉलीमॉर्फिज्म. Like if we divided this word into two subwords, then first subword will be become poly and second one will be morphism. So then here poly means many and morphism means forms. So polymorphism means to have many forms. In simple words, we can define polymorphism as the ability of a message to be displayed in more than one form. Like if we talk about a real life example of polymorphism, is that a person at the same time can have different characteristics. Like a woman at the same time is a daughter, is a mother, a sister, and can be employee also. Okay, so the same person possesses different behavior in different situation. This is called polymorphism. Okay, now in C++, polymorphism is mainly divided into two types: compile time polymorphism and runtime polymorphism. And compile time polymorphism is further divided into two types, that is function overloading and operator overloading. And virtual functions are considered into runtime polymorphism. So these all three types are big topics and important also. So we will cover these topics in a separate video. If we talk about example of polymorphism in C++, is that I have taken a variable as data member in a class, that is shape, and I have taken a member function that is draw. So here we have a single function, that is shape, but I can draw different shapes by using this draw function. So it means I can use a function to print many outputs. Okay, now the next feature is binding. Here binding means the process of converting identifiers into addresses. For each variables and functions, this binding is done. For functions, it is matching the call with the right function definition by the compiler. The binding is done either at compile time or at run time. अब सिंपल लैंग्वेज में समझें तो बाइंडिंग का मतलब लिंक होना ही होता है। अब डेटा कहीं स्टोर होगा तो उसका एड्रेस पॉइंटर से लिंक होता है ना, इसीलिए तो हम उस डेटा को एक्सेस कर पाते हैं। जैसे हमने प्रीवियस वीडियो में मैंने बताया था, पॉइंटर की वजह से तो हम लोग एक्सेस करते हैं, ठीक है, क्योंकि वो एड्रेस को होल्ड करके रखता है। नाउ सेम इसमें भी जब हम वेरिएबल्स एंड फंक्शंस को एक्सेस करते हैं तो हमें ये उन वैल्यूज़ को रिटर्न करवाता है। जैसे कि मैंने अगर बहुत सारे फंक्शंस लिए हैं क्लास में, ठीक है, जैसे कि प्रीवियस मतलब देखा था ना स्लाइड में, एवरेज फंक्शन भी था, अपडेट फंक्शन भी था, परसेंटेज फंक्शन भी था, ठीक है, ऐसे मैंने बहुत सारे फंक्शंस ले लिए थे। तो जब मैं मेन फंक्शंस में इनको एक्सेस करना चाहूँगी ना, जिस भी फंक्शन को एक्सेस करवाना चाह रहे हैं, तो ये उसको हमें उसकी वैल्यू को हमें रिटर्न करवाता है। सिंपल यही है कि उसकी वैल्यू को हमें रिटर्न करवाता है, ठीक है, ये बाइंड करके रखता है उसके वैल्यू को। And we can access by two ways, at compile time and can also access at run time. This is about binding. And like if we do compile time binding, then it is also compile time binding is also known as static binding or early binding. Dynamic binding is also known as late binding and runtime binding. The next feature is message passing. Message passing is nothing but sending and receiving of information by the objects, same as people exchange information. So these help in building systems that simulate real life. Like following are the basic step in message passing. Like first we have to create class and then define objects and its behavior, and then create objects from class definitions, and then establishing communication among objects. So that's all about the features of C++ language. Thank you for watching.